Hey everyone, we will wait for a couple more minutes for everyone else to join and then we'll start the webinar. Thank you. Hello everyone. Thanks out for taking the time to join our webinar today, where we will explore the internet landscape with Rand Fishkin. And I think we can start with a short introduction. My name is Thomas. I'm a strategic consultant here at SimilarWeb. And here with me, I also have a legend of digital marketing and SEO, Rand Fishkin. I think most people in SEO and marketing know of Rand at least. I personally learned a lot from his Whiteboard Fridays videos that we try to watch actually as a team on Fridays in one of the agencies I worked at. And of course, I used Moz for a long time to manage a lot of client projects and going through thousands of keyword suggestions from the Keyword Explorer tool in Excel to the point that I was dreaming in spreadsheets at night. And I'm not even exaggerating, that actually what happened. I think as a start would be great if you, Rand, could introduce us to your new venture, SparkToro, as I don't think as many people are familiar with it as much as Moz.
Yeah, absolutely, Thomas. Well, first off, thanks so much for having me. And my apologies. I've got a little bit of background noise because I have some heavy machinery operating in the yard behind me, but it should be done very soon. So hopefully it'll be quiet soon. But yes, so first off, Thomas and everyone at SimilarWeb, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to do this. You know, for the last couple of years, I've been incredibly passionate about what clickstream data can help show us, how it can help marketers understand their own markets and the broader sort of macro marketing world. And I'm super excited that we get to dive into that today. My new venture, which just launched a couple months ago, is called SparkToro. And SparkToro is audience intelligence software. I think we won't be showing it off too much today. I don't love being promotional, as folks know, but anyone can go try it for free and learn a whole bunch about the exact sources that their audience pays attention to, the podcasts they might read, listen to, the websites they visit, the sources of social influence, what they follow. And yeah, So folks can go give that a spin afterward. But I think today is about diving into some data that can help marketers succeed in their campaigns.
That's perfect. And thanks all for joining. It's a huge pleasure to have you here. I think next we're just gonna look over the topics that we'll cover. So first we'll look into what happened to our internet consumption in general through the last 2 years and specifically to during coronavirus. Then we'll look into filling Amazon's paid search void. As probably most of you know that Amazon turned off the paid search mid-March. So we want to see how it changed the shopping retailers industry. And then we'll look into different categories, how they diversified. And at the end, we'll look into how helping others can help your brand. So it's actually a very interesting topic that I think me and Rand have really interesting conversation about. And so without further ado, we can go to our first topic and changes to our internet consumption, which I think it's very interesting data to look at. And we'll start with US daily traffic to top 100 sites. And here what you can see is daily traffic to 100 sites comparing 2019 in this orange and 2020 year in dark blue. And you can see just in April, I think it was increased by 15%, which is huge numbers.
That's wild.
Yeah, for overall consumption in daily traffic, it's huge. And we can see even it wasn't a big drop off even in June. So we can still see this going on, this trend of usage of internet more and more.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting as a takeaway for marketers here, right, is if you are at an agency, if you're a consultant, if you're an in-house marketer, and you're saying, hey, we should be investing more in getting attention and awareness right now, I think this chart really helps make that case, right? If I'm walking into that meeting, I am going to say to my boss, my client, my team, hey, conversions are down because people don't have as much money to spend, right? They're not spending as much per purchase, but now is the time to earn attention, to grow our brand online, to grow our organic search traffic, to grow our distribution of where our traffic sources come from. And look at this data. This is showing us that the opportunity is higher than ever. If we're not investing, our competitors are getting that traffic. If we don't see a rise by 15, 20% in our internet traffic right now, somebody else is getting it.
Exactly. No, I think this is a great point because we basically measuring the opportunity by how many eyeballs are there on the different websites. So someone is getting traffic. You have to understand, is it you or is it your competitor?
Yeah. If it's not you.
Yeah. So I think the next one is one of the probably the most interesting slides I've seen in your presentation last year that you've done, and it's breaking down by total searches and percentage of clicked searches. So here we can see the total searches in dark blue. We can see it's reducing a number of searches over time, but we can see the 20% increase for the first time in 2 years, 2.5 years happened during the last 3 months.
And this is, just to be clear, this is desktop, mobile, both combined, right?
So this is desktop. Yeah.
This is right. Okay, this is desktop. Yeah. So this is why we see that spike at the end there, right, where people are starting to be home, they're locked in. So we're all on these machines instead of on these machines, whatever, on the bus, in our cars, et cetera, et cetera. So I think this makes complete sense. And for anyone who's invested in super mobile-friendly sites and mobile optimization, which is smart, don't get me wrong, make sure that your desktop site doesn't suck. Because there are a lot of people who have basically ignored their desktop experiences in favor of mobile friendliness. And I think we have to be cognizant of the fact that both are important.
Yeah, I think partly it also shows that if we have a choice of two and we're not on the go, it's still more comfortable to use desktop. It doesn't matter how good optimized your site is. I would still go on desktop to make a purchase because all my credit card data, everything is saved.
I find the orange line here also fascinating, right? So this is the percentage of of searches that result in a click. And we can see, right, the data that I reported, a couple years ago and last year where it was very low, it's actually kind of up a little bit right now.
Exactly.
which I find fascinating, right? I think that part of that obviously is people pulling back on their paid budgets, their paid search budgets. But I think there's also a huge rise in internet traffic, which we talked about. And that means more people searching for more things and more new things and different things than they were searching for pre-pandemic. And those are not instantly answerable via Google's featured snippets and instant answers and on-SERP features. And so you're seeing that click-through rate.
Yeah, so I think this is especially, it's interesting because it started going up in about 2018, I think, summer, and that's when it started going up quite significantly. And this is
it's literally right after the report. I was like, last June, I think, was when I said, oh, less than 50% of Google's searches result in a click. And then they were like, oh shit, Rand's on to us.
I think they're listening to you. I'm sure they are. So I think this is the interesting and fascinating part that is increased. And this is also include paid and organic. So it's all
paid and organic.
So any kind of click actually goes here. And I think from the next slide is very interesting that increase partly is fueled by paid search as well. So with the next slide, we can see paid click share of total searches. So you can see how much it increased since January 18. We see 52% increase in paid click share. So if you click into something, it's a big part of it is going to paid clicks. And I think I think it actually doesn't reflect the image fully here, because a lot of good quality searches are going to paid search as well.
Yeah.
Because that's the ones you bid on as well.
Well, so, especially bottom of funnel, right? End of this customer journey, you're getting a lot of paid search clicks. And I think there's also, Google has been very aggressive in the last 18 months. I wrote about this recently. I know a lot of people in SEM and SEO have been writing about this. Very aggressive in terms of putting branded search ads above the fold and making it sort of lowering the bar for competitors to bid on your brand so that many of them show up, right? If I search for whatever, Moz, SEMrush has an easier time bidding for to compete with Moz in that top paid search bucket than they might on another type of search where Google would say, well, you don't look like you're getting the click-through rate and the relevance, so we're not going to display the ad here. When it comes to paid search, that story is different.
I think this is a very good point, because the thing is, I work with a lot of customers, SimilarWeb, and we basically fool everything with data. And I remember just a few years ago when I worked in an agency, one of our clients asked us, can we bid on our competitors' keywords? Because they're bidding on ours. We're like, it's not really good practice. And I did research, I tried to understand if it's a good thing or not. And most white hat SEO, PPC people will say it's not a good practice. Why are you bidding on competitors if they're not searching for your brand? They're not searching for technically what you're offering. So we came back and like, no, we actually don't want to bid on it. But they pushed back and they asked us to bid on it. And it was the best performing PPC campaign we had.
Whoa, it was really?
And we did really good PPC campaigns with top of the funnel, because it was B2B company. We had like ebooks and everything for low click keywords and everything, with buyer journey completion till sales cycle in 6 months. We tracked everything. But the thing is, those competitor ads
really performed
better. And now I see it in every single industry that I analyze. Almost everyone is doing it, and not doing it is usually something weird.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, part of that has got to be, right, when you are performing that branded search, you are near the end of your journey already, and so now you're sort of kind of deciding between brands and where you're going to make that purchase. And so yeah, there must be some opportunity there. That's fascinating to hear. I haven't heard that a lot, actually, to be honest, Thomas. I've heard the opposite, so that's cool.
No, it's very interesting. But yeah, the increase of 52%, I think it's huge. And it happened in just two years. And we see, and this is compared to, let's say it was in May, the last data point. So I think from January, this is where a lot of companies have decreased their paid budgets. So it dipped a little bit. I think it would be even higher. It would be maybe 60, 65% at this point as well.
Yeah.
So The next slide, I think it's interesting because we have a breakdown by categories and which ones were growing or declining in during lockdown and coronavirus. And we have kind of three types of categories in here. Some of them that have experienced the sharpest decline. So we can see sports category having a big decline because, well, there's nothing to actually watch that much. And I'm one of the people that watch quite a lot of sports, especially basketball, NBA, but there's really nothing. So I even rewatch old videos. You know how people are watching Jordan documentary, everyone was
Yeah,
watching
that's
because
right.
there's nothing to watch.
No sports.
Yeah. And then we have also short-term growth like news and media. So it was an amazing spike in the beginning where we had all the coronavirus stories that everyone was reading in, and we have quite a sharp decline afterwards because everyone kind of sick of reading the same stories about
I think
coronavirus.
makes total sense to me, right? I think that pattern of, boom, the news spikes up and then it slows down.
Yeah,
The e-commerce one is really fascinating.
exactly. This is like one of the categories that is actually growing and still growing. And I
Yeah.
think this is something that will probably stay because people will find out, because people who weren't using e-commerce will find out how easy it is and
Yeah.
how beneficial it is to using it as well.
No, I think it's one of the few really long-term growth opportunity areas, and I know a lot of consumer brands and even B2B brands that are in e-commerce and have been benefiting. I think we have a case study at the end of this that I'm excited to talk about in that field too.
Mhm. Then we have an interesting snapshot of data, I think. So this is more of a differentiation in top three sites. So how much percentage top three sites are getting of overall category traffic? So you can see
Yeah.
search, of course, most going to Google, Bing, and I think probably Yandex or Yahoo. So you can see all of the traffic going to top three sites. So it's basically how much of the category is concentrated top three sites and
Yeah.
how it changes over time.
Yeah.
So we can see the biggest differentiation in shopping. So we can see decline in top side. So let's say if it's Amazon or Target, we can see that smaller sites are actually gaining more momentum, more traffic share.
Yeah. Way to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty
We see
awesome.
similar thing in sports because I think the main channels have nothing to show
Yeah.
really, so it makes sense. And
And
I think,
games.
yeah, and games as well. Yeah,
Games is an
it
exciting one.
makes
I think
sense.
that's another field where there's a ton of opportunity because there's so many people who are interested right now in games and gaming, right? And that activity has been growing during lockdown, during quarantine. And the fact that the distribution of where that traffic's going is going to more and more long tail niche sites, that's a huge opportunity for small medium businesses. So I think watching a chart like this over time, paying attention to this is really valuable. And this is another one you can put in front of your team, your client, your boss, and show, hey, our opportunity is increasing or it's getting more difficult to stand out in our field.
Yeah, I think like as you mentioned, one of the interviews is that during the tough times like recessions, like smaller and scrappier and more data-driven companies have an advantage over big companies who uploaded and focused on their brand traffic. So it's
Yes,
somewhere where you can actually fill in the gap and gain a market share and gain attention, and then it'll be easier for you to perform long term.
that's right.
I think, yeah, so I think this slide is definitely showing us that smaller sites have an opportunity, smaller players have an opportunity to actually grow during this tough time.
In everywhere except search and social,
Yeah.
right? So, I don't know who might be considering monopoly cases against search engines or social networks next month, but whoever that is, they should pay attention to this too.
I think you'll be the main witness there. So yeah, we'll know really fast. So I think the next one is on Amazon and Kohls, and it's about filling in the paid search gap. So the main topic is really about Amazon being this
That's
amazing shop leader, and we know that most of their traffic, they're dominating so many niches, so many categories. So the change in traffic sources when Amazon actually cut their advertising in the middle of March or end of the March, we can see how much it decreased. in
Yeah.
April and May. So it basically cut about 90% above everything. And we've seen about 20% decline in display ads as well. So we can see Amazon traffic sources right here. So paid search, referrals, mail, social, display ads. And this is all of the non-Amazon traffic sources for non-Amazon sites. So all of the retailers, it can be Kohls, it can be all smaller retailers, Target, anyone else. And we can see how much the traffic share for paid have increased. So
Yeah.
it maybe not look much, but it's significant amounts of traffic because it's for all retailers. It's a huge increase.
It is truly, truly remarkable to see that when Amazon pulls out of a sector like paid search, it creates opportunity for everyone else, right? And folks are obviously taking advantage of that. I'm also fascinated to see the share of referrals rising from email in both cases, right? So Amazon looks like a little bit, and non-Amazon also a little bit. I think that makes sense. What I have observed personally, and you can see the data, so MailChimp and HubSpot have been tracking sort of email opens over the course of the pandemic.
Oh, that's
And
very interesting. Yeah.
yeah, and both of those data sources. So HubSpot has this COVID-19 data set that they publish with all theirs, and they're showing exactly what SimilarWeb has got here, which is essentially that email open rates have risen over the course of the pandemic. We're clicking our promotions tab more. We're clicking on promotional offers more. We're
Wow.
opening up those emails. We're clicking through. Conversion rates are down and total sales are down, but we're paying more attention, just like we saw with the web traffic rising.
Okay, so there's more attention to all of the promotion, but we're not really
Yeah.
converting as much. So it's again, it's more of a brand play and like marketing share play than
You got to be thinking long term right now,
yeah.
right? You have to be thinking, hey, in 18 months, in 12 months, right, when a recovery starts to happen, where will my brand be versus my competition? And I think looking at charts like this, right, and being able to recognize, hey, are we taking advantage of these opportunities is a really good thing. One that surprises me, to be honest, I am shocked to see Amazon's social rising, share of social rising, and the rest of the web sort of being more flat on social. I was expecting a little more social activity, but
Yeah, I
that
think in
is,
the rest is even a small drop down. So yeah, it's
yeah.
quite weird that there is no increase. But yeah, just an anecdotal story from gaining the market share. One of the industries I've analyzed was actually grocery delivery in France. So
Oh,
the
yeah.
top site reduces traffic, paid traffic, and the other side, I think it was third largest one, increases paid traffic during the main
Oh,
part of the coronavirus, and it just overtook everything because you have influx of new customers that are familiar with the new brand, and then
right.
they're just staying with the main brand. So it just overtook, and now it's just bigger than the top one. So
Mm,
it was
remarkable.
very interesting story, which I covered, I think, 3 months ago, the very beginning. And I think that showcases the opportunity right now, especially when you have influx of new customers like e-commerce, uh, like grocery shopping. You have to take opportunity to gain market share and new customers because in a long
Yeah.
term, it will definitely pay off.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
Again, here I think it's
Yeah.
even clearer. So the dark blue line, you can see Amazon when dropped off all of the paid search, and you can see other ones increasing. So the one that increased the most is others. So it's all the smaller retailers. So you can
Yeah.
see, I think one of them is Kohls, who has increased some traffic. You see eBay increasing some traffic, but others, which are smaller retailers, gained the most from this.
Yeah. And I see Walmart did a similar thing. I think at the end of April, they did a paid budget cut.
Yeah.
And I think that, yeah, my understanding is that was sort of move driven by ROI that they were seeing. And now what'll be fascinating is, Thomas, I would love to see SimilarWeb publish on this in a couple months. Like, what's the result of the Facebook ad boycott? Right? Because my perception is that Facebook ad boycott, people cutting their Facebook and Instagram spend, down to zero, and we're talking about hundreds of big advertisers and thousands of small ones. My suspicion is many folks will find over the course of July and August that they didn't need that Facebook traffic as desperately as they think they did. right? And that they find other places to invest it. And so even in September, October, November, we're going to find a more diversified landscape for a lot of these players. I'm also really passionate about suggesting that folks do that, right? Anytime you see an opportunity to take paid budget and invest it in organic and long-term, I think that's a really good thing. And a lot of teams and clients are open to that right now who've never been open to it before. Right? Because ROI is not as good. If I'm spending whatever, $5 a click and my return was $7 a click and now it's down to $5.25 a click, I might be more willing to say, yeah, let's take half that budget and put it to podcasts and webinars and getting on people's sites and doing co-marketing and doing some organic and content marketing and email marketing, blah, 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 right? And that's a huge opportunity for marketers to shift that budget, shift that attention, and earn a higher ROI in the long term.
Yeah, no, I think this is a great point. And I think that another point about this to make is that a lot of these shopping sites that have increased in paid search traffic, in many cases, they didn't increase their budget. In many cases, they are CPA based. They have the same budget, but because Amazon is not bidding, they have lower cost per click. So now they can get more traffic with the same budget. So it's
yeah, if you're wondering whether you should be cheering for Congress to do something about Amazon's dominance, well, if you're anybody but Amazon, you probably should be cheering for that, right? Because it's going to be really good. It just creates a ton of opportunity. And, I'm obviously passionate about helping small businesses. So I like to see this.
Yeah, no, I think this is very interesting. And yeah, this is just a similar view, but more in the paid traffic share. So we can see the same. Amazon was getting, I think it's close to 35% of all paid traffic share, which is just funny how much of the paid clicks they're getting in this category of shopping. And now they're reduced to really close to maybe 5% or something. And we can see the biggest players that gain are other websites, which are smaller websites. So it's definitely affecting them a lot. They're getting a bigger percentage of traffic share.
And Kohls is up. I mean, Kohls has almost doubled their percentage of paid search. So that's really impressive to see. Etsy as well looks like it's up almost 2x from January to May. So
it's a huge difference. Exactly. A lot of them are investing a lot more money. And we can even see Kohls example right here. It's increasing 130%. So you're right. It's not just doubles. It's 130%. It's a huge increase. So I think, and this is actually really interesting at this point, because Kohls, it's not the first time Kohls benefited from Amazon. They partnered with Amazon to receive their shipments and returns through Kohls. So now people can actually do returns, and they've seen a 24% increase in foot traffic after they announced it in like 3 weeks. So they're using Amazon as much as they can. So I think that's something that they focus on to use it in their advantage anytime anything changes, really.
Yeah, fascinating, huh? This was a couple of years ago they did that, or
yeah,
last
year? I think it was a year and a half ago or something.
I was going to say, because increasing foot traffic right now probably not a great idea.
It's not relevant at this point. But yeah, so I think the next slide is more about keywords. So I think this is something I've seen in many industries. I think eBay done a very similar thing. So we can see from the top keywords on January, February, and April, May, it just a shift to more relevant keywords. You cannot just bid more.
Right.
You have to bid on more relevant keywords to the situation. And Kohls did well. They actually focused on the ones in demand. They tested multiple ones. They seen that works. And you can see that Nintendo Switch is one of the main ones. Hair clippers, of course, because I just got a haircut after 3 months just today for this webinar. So
ooh, it looks pretty slick. I mean, you're wearing the headphones, so we can't quite see, but I think
I know you love really nice hair, like your
I
hair is
do.
always perfect, facial hair is always, so I had to look nice for this one.
Had to bring it. Had to bring. No, my wife has been cutting my hair with clippers, and I've had more than a few friends who emailed me and said,
Wow.
like, "Hey, which hair clippers did you get? You know, what should I be doing
Wow,
there?"
your relationship is amazing. That's a lot of
Yeah,
trust to give a chance to cut your hair. That
she's incredible. One thing I'm curious about on the top paid keywords is when we see this percentage change. What is that? What is the percentage
so this
change
is the
from?
last month. So this is May
Okay,
versus April. Yeah,
May versus April. Okay, got it.
exactly. So
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
why you see Nintendo Switch declining in May over April, because it was a huge increase. I think in April it was so big because it was sold out in US, UK, everywhere.
Yeah,
Um,
that Google Home device is shocking to me.
yeah, to me as well. It's really, really big increase. I don't like it,
I
it's
hadn't heard that before, but yeah, I'm going to have to look into that. I bet the Google Trends chart for that would be fun to see. And my guess is Google's been doing some good marketing on that too.
yeah. Well, they're selling them at cost as Amazon, so
Ah,
it makes sense.
right, right.
But let's not get into that. So we can see air fried as well. So, and some examples of the paid ads, but it's interesting how they shift focus to the very in-demand goods. And I've even seen in eBay when it just started, one of the analysis of them, they even made a copy of the ads. So let's say hand sanitizers, they actually put in the ad, we have it in stock, because a lot of
Right.
people used to go to a lot of retailers and they didn't have it in stock. So in the ad it said we have it in stock, so people know when they click it, they do have it in stock, which was, I think,
Smart.
amazing and very, very smart. And it was like in a couple of weeks they just did it. We see
Yeah.
like a big change.
Hmm.
So this is, we can see Kohls optimizing for right fit keyword, which is hair clipper. So we can see the line of Kohls in blue, and we can see how
Oh, yeah.
much it increased in paid search. So it started April, and now it's very, very big. And we can see the increase in searches volume in May in 2020 to 3.3 million, when on average in last 12 months it was 500,000, which was here basically was nothing.
Yeah.
And I think one of the interesting points here is also looking at search visits, because as we've seen before, not all searches lead to anything. So half of the searches don't lead to search visits. So actually
Right.
looking at search visits, it's even more important to understand how beneficial this keyword or keyword group is for you. So here you can see that search visits is big and it's growing over time as well. And the next one is interesting because I think they turned on dumbbells in the beginning. I think they just didn't work out that well and they dialed off. So the yellow one is Kohls here, and they became one of the leaders in the beginning of April.
Yep.
And then they turned off the advertising at the end of April. So it's something they probably tested out and it didn't work that well. They had bigger names like Target, and I think the Sporting Goods just have a better platform for it when it comes to
Sure.
dumbbells. So they either CPC or conversion rate wasn't that good, or their selection wasn't that good. So I think it made sense for them just to turn off.
Man, I need to order some. Look at these little tiny sticks I've got attached to me.
I have elastic bands. They work perfectly. You don't need them.
Smart, smart.
To be fair, they all sold out anyway. So I think the next one is the interesting one as well in Amazon is the
Yeah, that affiliate slash was brutal.
slash, which was huge. So you can see it was 8%, now it's 363. It's a huge slash in affiliate rates. But what is interesting that it's still coming and it's still increasing, which kind of makes sense because they don't have many more places, I guess, to
Right.
put it to.
Yeah, and the demand is up, right? So I think Amazon basically said, "Hey, we're in a semi-monopoly position. Like you can't go anywhere else. You know, no other affiliate program is going to pay out like we will. So we can cut this dramatically, boost our, not our revenue, but our margins, and make more profit and sort of screw over everyone who's been sending us traffic." And they were right. I mean, I think it's a smart business move on Amazon's on Amazon's front, but again, it's sort of a rich gets richer phenomenon.
Yeah,
And
because most of these referral sites, like a lot of them can be even small ones. So it kind
yeah,
of it doesn't make sense, and it's a huge profit boost as well. From 8% to go to 3, it's huge.
oh my God, especially when you consider that Amazon's margins on a lot of its products are, razor thin. So decreasing that affiliate payout when whatever, Rand and Thomas's grilling center.com starts sending more and more traffic to Amazon, but we're getting paid whatever less than half of what we were per referral. It's
Yeah, no,
tough.
I think that's huge, and especially because they have already so much demand. I think one of the plays Amazon is making, they're trying to get as much, again, eyeballs and brand awareness into its categories that at some point it can just turn it off and it will have enough, and
Yeah.
someone will like reduce it even more, that all people will still go to Amazon to buy it.
Yep.
Okay, so the next one, we're going to category diversification in lifestyle. So I'm just looking in lifestyle shopping category, so and how it changed over time. So we can see Macy's and Gap and Nike actually having a big drop off in the beginning, but you can see that in May it's getting back to kind of normal. It's still not as big as it was in January, which is usually a drop off from December anyway.
Right.
But it's kind of getting back to normal. Gap has actually grown in May significantly, even compared to January, because I guess there's a lot of demand that was collected over this time and people trying to go out and trying to buy a lot of products. We see similar in Nike. And the rest, the smaller players, I think it was interesting because they didn't see such a big drop off.
Yeah.
And this is one of the categories that had a bigger diversification in from top 3 sites to smaller sites. So smaller sites grew quite significantly while big ones either reduced or stayed the same.
Mm-hmm.
So the next slide shows that the biggest movers were the small sites. So we can see Crocs. So we can see Crocs.com
just
skyrocketing. Then we see Coach Lay, 1-800-Flowers, Skechers. So we see a lot of websites that are small actually growing significantly during this time.
Yeah, fascinating. I think that one of the things that was predicted, right, that I talked about on the webinar that I did with Will Reynolds, for example, back in February, was this sort of pent up demand, right? And you can see that pent up demand being executed on, starting to be executed on in May, in June. We're probably going to feel some of it in July as well, but I think that, delay of like 3 to 4 months, as a lot of American consumers basically, they didn't just lock down themselves, they locked down their budgets, right? They said like, we're going to stop spending on our credit card, we're going to stop putting out cash. And then as things, over time, some things opened back up. And I think, frankly, Americans, different from the rest of the world, kind of just got tired of lockdown. So,
I think we all did.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's tired of it. Americans are sort of uniquely culturally not suited to pandemics, but yeah, I think this is a good example of that. The Shop Disney one is surprising to me as well. Seeing, not surprising, but fascinating as well. And I know that the Disney properties, right, have been sort of feeling this and then seeing massive demand even for riskier activities like going to Disneyland and Disney World.
Yeah, no, I've heard that, and I think this is an interesting point. I remember seeing one of your charts where you said basically you can reduce your budget to a certain degree where you will see the demand decline a little bit, but it's not going to stay at the point what it was during the last 3 months. So even though you might want to reduce your marketing spend or marketing promotion in some way, it should not go below that because you
below
lose
the demand. That's right. Yeah.
And I think the next one, because we've seen Crocs here, we're actually going to look at this amazing awareness thing, which is kindness as a marketing strategy for Crocs and Glowforge. So first of all, I wanted just to make people familiar who don't know of these brands. So Crocs is kind of shoe brand, which I would call slipper shoes or something. I think that's what their main product is, and you can see them here in the pictures. This is what they produce and sell. And then Glowforge is 3D laser printers. So where you can actually laser print stuff at home, which I think was a long time coming, and it's a big and very important industry in future. So I think that kind of describes it. Do you have anything to add about any of these companies as a whole?
Yeah. I think so. One thing to be aware of on the Crocs side is that and you can sort of see them featuring it, but it's a very comfortable, I would call it generally low fashion shoe that is great for people who are on their feet all day, every day, right? So a lot of chefs and folks who work in kitchens, a lot of, as you can see, nurses and healthcare professionals, right, wear these shoes. They tend to be robust for those purposes, right? It's not a fashion shoe that you generally like wear to the movies or whatever, wear out on dates or that kind of thing. And then Glowforge is actually a relatively new company. I think they started 3 years ago here in Seattle, my hometown. They're a
Oh yeah, I
startup.
wanted to mention that because they are from Seattle. Yeah.
Yeah. So the CEO Dan Shapiro is a good friend and actually an investor in SparkToro, and Glowforge has been making this 3D laser printer that is very popular with folks with crafters, people who sell on Etsy, for example. We saw Etsy's traffic, right, skyrocketing, and so I think that drives a little bit of interest. But Glowforge also did a very interesting campaign that we'll talk about in a sec, and you'll see the synergies between what Crocs and Glowforge did and the pandemic and brand awareness, and how that led to both pent-up demand and demand execution.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. So yeah, we can probably go into here. So it's basically what Crocs did. They donated a lot of shoes to hospital workers, which just by this campaign of donating them, they traffic skyrocket just significantly. I don't even know how many times here, but it's a significant increase. And you can see it stayed for a very long time at a very similar level, and it's still very, very high.
Yeah, I think what's fascinating here, right, is that Crocs is recognizing, hey, there's demand, there's need, we can be helpful, we can do this sort of kind and thoughtful and right thing. And I don't even know if they did it with the benefit in mind, right? Like what I want to believe is that Crocs essentially said, hey, who knows whether this is going to have a positive impact on our marketing? We don't care. It's the right thing to do. Let's go help a bunch of people who are in a painful position right now, right, and are really struggling at the front lines of this pandemic. And from that, they received a ton of press, which you mentioned a little bit here, but you can see if you go to the Google News, right, sort of chart, you can see that they got a tremendous amount of press. And I think where they created a really positive marketing loop for themselves is that by giving away a ton of their shoes, they were able to create demand from lots of people who were exposed to those shoes, right? They had a great product for people who needed them in a time of need. Those folks helped spread the brand of Crocs, and now there's more demand than ever. I think Crocs were sort of thought of in one way and started to get thought of in a different way by a new market segment thanks to this promotion.
Oh, that's perfect because it is the target market anyway.
That's right. Yeah, sort of new target market for them, right?
Wow. Yeah, no, this is very significant. And I think the next one, we can even see their marketing channels over time.
Look at that direct. Look at that direct. Yeah. That's the money right there, right? When you see that you are able to grow like branded search and direct, which are, to my mind, really, really similar things, right? Branded search and direct is essentially, I heard about you.
I agree.
I want to go check out your thing. And that is just a beautiful example of hitting the market at the right time with the right product in the right place, the right promotion, the press, boom, all of it.
Yeah, no, it's significant growth. It's been growing so much. And I think one of the interesting things, actually, again, I stole this from you. You said that the thing is why this is important. Known brands and known people have also easier way of marketing. So whenever you grow and you become well known, whenever you do paid campaign, whenever you do PPC, whenever you do social, you have higher conversion rates. You have better click-through rates. So your cost per clicks are dropping, your conversion rate is higher, you have lower CPAs, everything is becoming easier. You call it a cheat code. I don't remember which presentation I watched, but you literally called it a cheat code to the marketing. when
Yeah.
you're known as a brand, it helps you everywhere.
Yeah, it's like this just lift that, if I've heard of Crocs and I have a positive brand impression of them and someone said nice things about them in my network before, right, then the percentage odds that I'm going to click on them in the search results, right, the percentage odds that I'm going to click on a paid ad, that I'm going to click on a display ad, that I'm going to click on an Instagram ad, that once I get to the website, I'm going to add something to my cart, that once I get to my cart, I'm going to check out, that once I check out, I'm going to click the, yeah, let's add a second pair. All of those go up, right? And not just incrementally, that sort of, builds on itself as the brand recognition grows. And so I think one of the things that a lot of direct marketers, a lot of SEOs and SEMs and content marketers, email marketers have underinvested in is this power of brand. And many times when you're getting beat by someone who like, oh, they're terrible at SEO, how are they winning? Well, guess what, my friend, right? Their site might not be technically optimized well, might be slow, might not be as mobile friendly as yours, but if their brand is better known and liked, there you go.
Exactly. No, I think it's completely true, and it's something that more brands should recognize and understand importance of it, and not go into too much of return investment focused activity before you kind of build that brand as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so here we even see keywords and which keywords actually we're going. So through March and April, you can see Crocs, Crocs for healthcare, free
Oh,
Crocs,
yeah. Look at,
everything.
wow. Crocs healthcare up 1,000%. Yeah. Wow. Incredible. And the amount of demand for Crocs free, right? So like that campaign saw a tremendous amount of brand awareness and attention, right?
Yeah,
People are, yeah. God,
no,
greater
it's
than 5,000% Crocs for healthcare. Wow.
yeah, and you can see the reduction in paid search as well. So organic versus paid. A lot of these were paid clicks, where here most of it is free. So you can see Crocs for nurses still come as some of it is paid as 15%, and Crocs is still 26% of it's paid. So they still do some brand protection, but most of it's all organic as well.
Remarkable.
So this is the next one, which is Glowforge. I think again, the very interesting use case. I think you can take it from here because you are very familiar with the brand and their activity.
Yeah. So this is starting in, I believe, the end of February, beginning of March. They had this concept that, hey, we can't produce personally protective equipment that is licensed because these are distributed machines that people like you and I just have in our homes. However, we can make things to help out with this crisis, including these ear savers. I don't know if folks who are on the webinar have had this experience, right? But if you're wearing a face mask, sort of cloth face mask, a medical face mask, all day, the back of your ears, and you might have seen some pictures of healthcare professionals showing what it looks like. They get red, they get raw. Sometimes they even get bloody at the end of the day, right? For surgeons and doctors who've been in the
Because they're
ER
not made to wear it every day, right? Or for a very long term.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. You're supposed to put them on. It's sort of designed to put them on for surgery, take them off, right?
Yeah.
And so a few hours is the recommended amount. And so Glowforge realized, hey, wait a minute, we can ship millions of these units, but we can't do it all ourselves. We need our customers, people who have Glowforges in their homes, to make them with us. And so they essentially, over the course of March, right, they got out the plans, right? They send the 3D printing plans to everyone, and they say like, hey, here's how to make them. And they connected hospitals and medical professionals with individuals who are making these things. And you can see they ship them in little packets, right? So like all these thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of Glowforge customers are sending, a few hundred of these that they made in their garages to healthcare workers. And it's a feel-good story, right? Glowforge can feel great, but every customer of Glowforge can feel like they are contributing to help solve the pandemic, right? A really, really fascinating use case. And I've talked to some of the folks at Glowforge, right? And I know they had a breakout March, a breakout April, a breakout May, a breakout June. Like they have been just experiencing not just extraordinary traffic, but extraordinary conversions. And these are expensive devices, right? So people are spending a couple $1,000s to get a Glowforge, and this campaign brought brand awareness to a huge market of people at home, right, who are kind of like cooped up at their houses and like, well, I want to get into crafting. What do I want to do? I also think that what we were talking about before with Etsy's growth and the dramatic growth of sort of e-commerce and make it home stuff also contributed here, but Glowforge definitely had a huge brand campaign win.
No, I think that's amazing, and it's a huge one, especially when you can have your customers you contribute and make a difference. It's huge. Yeah, and that's one of the best ways of doing it because everyone can be a part of it.
Right.
And again,
I mean,
Glowforge is not, it's quite a new brand as well. So for them, it's huge. It's huge publicity as well.
Absolutely. Right. I think that ability to create brand affinity, right, to help your customers feel included in the brand is really powerful. And yeah, there you can see what's going on, what's driving a lot of that traffic.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think in this slide we also can see which actual sources benefited the most, and we can see referral traffic growing the most amongst everywhere. And I think its average social light was one of the main ones. So do you know more about the actual website? Is this like a normal referral that should be here?
Yeah. I mean, I think that my understanding is they wrote a story about Glowforge, right, and sent them a bunch of traffic. But you can see the that Hacker News, right, writing about the campaign and sending them a bunch of traffic. That Uncrate wrote about it. Yeah, so lots of sources there.
No, yeah. I think this is an amazing story, and I'm a big fan of Tom's shoes as well. Like everywhere where you can actually have your customers benefit and then turn it into something good for the world. It's amazing for your brand, for your company. It can be for profit, non-profit, but it's a very, very good campaign.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. This was amazing. we just have questions left. Let me see, what do we have? I think Missy can probably summarize it for us.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Missy, can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me? I'm assuming.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I just sent you one. This came in. Don't you think the Amazon cut to affiliate revenues will hurt the diversity of deep and specialist content for users, particularly outside of a transactional need? What are the implications of that on the rich continuing to get rich?
Oof, brutal. Yeah. So I think this is a really tough space to be in, right? That if you are that if your primary revenue source is sending affiliate traffic to someone else, you're going to be completely at their mercy. And Amazon, by virtue of being a near monopoly in the e-commerce retail space for affiliate, right? They're not. I don't want to say Amazon is the monopoly in all of e-commerce or in all of retail. They're not, right? I think they're less than 50% of e-commerce, and they're something like less than 30% of, or around 30% of retail. But they online retail, but they are dominant in the affiliate space for physical e-commerce products on the web. And so they have all the market power. And I think that there's two ways to think about it, right? There's one from sort of a regulatory, and I'm an economist. What do I think is healthy for the world? How do I want to contribute, right? And I think that goes into the political spectrum of how should we regulate them, and what should the hearings be like, and how should laws be applied. I won't dive into that here, but I will dive into, I think that if you are an affiliate player, I think one of the smartest things that you can do right now is consider how you could build alternative revenue streams. And one of the most powerful ones of those that I have seen and that I've seen grow are content-based subscriptions, right? So things like Patreon and alternatives to Patreon, things like Tipper, things like having an email subscription newsletter that is part of a paid subscription, right? Essentially, instead of it's not software as a service, but it's content as a service. And those types of things can be really valuable. You don't need a big audience, right? 10 subscribers to your $20 a month content, as a service subscription is worth 5,000 people a month clicking on your affiliate ads. So I just consider that diversification as part of it.
Yeah. Do you think it's also an opportunity for smaller retailers to actually get into those affiliates, or is it because the margins are lower? Or
I think there's opportunities for smaller retailers to do more creative sorts of marketing and co-marketing. I'm not sure about affiliate, right? So I think one of the really tough things is to go, Wirecutter is a very broad example. But if you're a small retailer and you have some margin room, I might consider doing whatever co-marketing and co-branding, a promotional social campaign, a shared webinar or an event or a video series or something like that together with an influential source in that field, rather than just a direct affiliate relationship, because the conversion rates are often lower and the conversion totals are lower. It's more long-term than short-term. And so it doesn't often look as promising to a potential affiliate player, who a lot of those folks like to be really scale driven. And that's tough.
It makes sense. It's a tough way to actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anything else, Missy?
Yes. In this COVID-19 situation, what is the key initiative to improve conversion rate, especially in the mobile industry?
Oh man. Okay. Well, all
That's
right.
not an easy one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
It's really tough because conversion rate. Let me say it this way. If what conversion rate means to you is a paid purchase, the answer to that question is help the world recover faster from the pandemic. Right? That's the thing that will increase your conversion rates. There's lots of other things that you can do, but in a lot of cases, right, demand is just depressed. B2B marketing is a great example of this, where tons of folks we talk to are just like, hey, I have to cut my budget, I have to cut my tools, I have to cut my subscriptions, corporate pulled my credit card, right? I just don't have budget. And so I think that the right way to think about this instead is, can I change what conversion means? Right? So I would think about conversion meaning changing the product you're offering from something that is paid and very and relatively expensive to something that might be free and long-term beneficial and builds your brand and converts in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. I might think about a conversion as being a subscription to your email. I might think about it as being a conversion to signing up for that webinar. I might think about it in mobile, right? I might think about it as someone downloads the app. I might think about it as someone, installs the piece of software. Someone adds the website to their home screen, subscribes to you on a social channel, right? So that you have the opportunity to market to them in the future, and you can create that pent-up demand. The other thing I might think about is, now is a good time to reconsider pricing and packaging, because that can help with conversion rate. If there's a lower priced value add package, and I would also think about positioning, right? So if your position in B2B, this is particularly strong, but if your previous positioning was, we can help you grow, in B2B, it's often better right now and over the next 6 months to say, we can save you money. Right. So
yeah. That's very clever. Yeah.
The difference, right? So like SimilarWeb, right? SimilarWeb Pro. If our previous was, hey, by paying attention to your competitors, paying attention to all this data, we can help you grow. You might say, hey, we can help you cut your paid budget and keep all the powerful conversions. We can help you redirect your marketing spend to the channels that actually have returns for you. Blah, 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 right? Like it's a different positioning, and it resonates more with people.
I hope, Missy, you're writing this down, right? This is our new positioning.
And that's classically in B2B, that will save you money doesn't work as well as will help you grow. But in times of recession, it does. So those are my pieces of advice.
Basically, aligning your positioning to the goals of the customers.
Yes. Yeah. Which is all right. That's what is marketing, if not that?
Well, it should be. Yeah. Yes, Missy, I think we have maybe for one more last question. Do you have anything for us?
Actually, this is going to be my question because I'm just curious.
Of course.
So now that there's this Facebook boycott, what website do you think has the greatest opportunity to get those ad dollars, or what like sector of websites?
I think tragically, my suspicion is that the bad news is the biggest winner is going to be Google.
That's why I knew it's gonna come. Yeah.
Yeah. However, I think what I think smart marketers will do, especially those who are thinking about their long-term brand investments, will do is try and look for 10, 50, 100, 200, 500 new places to go do marketing of all kinds. And that could be, that could be initiatives like content marketing or investing in a bigger email channel. It could be an email subscription. It could be podcast advertising, which is tremendously underpriced for what you get and the opportunities there. It could be influencer marketing on YouTube and Instagram and places like that. It could be press and PR, which still have huge value, or review marketing like we talked about earlier. Those places tend to be, they're sort of high upfront communication challenge, and like you have to make it work one-to-one. But if and when you do, the ROI is massive, and the competitive advantage, because your competitors are not investing in those places, they're just throwing dollars at Google, at Facebook, at Twitter, at Instagram, at LinkedIn, at Pinterest. But when you do those things that are more complex and more challenging, you have a competitive long-term advantage over the rest of your field, and marketing becomes a way for you to win long-term. So that would be like, if I'm being smart about it, it's here. If I'm being cynical about it, it's probably going to Google.
No, I think this is a great answer. Thanks a lot, Rand. It was a huge pleasure. I hope we'll have you someday again. This is amazing. I think everyone took so much home from this. And thank you everyone for joining as well. Thanks, Missy, for helping us with Q&A. And yes, have a great day, guys.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.